I've done it. I've created the plan. Do you see this? This is the plan. This is the plan. What is going on, guys? Coach O here at the Lions Den, located in Hatfield/Colmar, PA, off of Route 309. So if you're in the area, come check out the gym. But in this video, I am just gonna go over my plan, my secret diabolical plan to get a 300-pound strict press. It's something that I've wanted for a long time, and I'm actually prepping for a strongman competition that is November 14th, PA Strongest Man, which has a Viking press in it. But I think with that going on, I can kind of easily work in me getting a 300-pound strict press, which would just be fantastic. So I want to cover some tips and tricks that I'm going to be using in my programming that I think if you want to increase your overhead press, you guys can implement them ASAP, and it's going to help you out.
Before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed to the dang channel.
All right, so tip number one, if you've been following this channel for any amount of time and watched any of my other videos on how to increase whatever lift, you know I am a huge fan of increasing frequency. So if you are somebody who's only doing the lift one time per week, I'm gonna reach through the screen, give you a little right on the hiney, okay? Because it's time for you to increase that frequency. So when it comes to pressing, for me, I'm gonna increase my pressing frequency to about 3 times per week. And since we're doing the shoulders here, the shoulders are gonna be typically a smaller muscle group, so we're gonna be able to train them more frequently because they recover faster compared to something like your legs or your back, or just something that's a larger muscle group. So for me, kind of my basic thought process going into this is day one, I'm gonna do my strict press. That's where I want to put most time and most focus to. So if you have a movement that you want to put a lot of effort and improve on, put that in the beginning of your training week, okay? So for me, that's going to be strict press. Now, my second pressing variation is going to be a push press. So for the competition, we have Viking press. So I'm going to use the Viking press as my other variation, which is essentially a push press. But I really like using the push press because it allows me to overload the movement, pushing more weight because there is a little bit of leg drive. But I think over time, the push press really just helps increase the shoulder muscle as much as possible and translates over to the overhead press. Now, the last variation that I'm going to do is going to be some sort of variation that's going to hit on a weak point. So for me, I really like doing pin pressing. And typically, I kind of get stuck somewhere in the face region of the press. So I'm going to set up the pins anywhere from my chin or above to just work on strengthening that range of motion in the press. So that is tip number one, increasing that frequency and getting and pressing more throughout the week. All right, guys, so tip number two has to do with grip. So something a little bit more technical, but I think when it comes to pressing as much weight overhead as possible and in a strict press, having a more narrow grip is going to be more favorable for most and myself. Now, I do like keeping a more narrow grip because it keeps everything just nice and tight, as well as I think when we drift our hands out more wider on the bar, it's going to put a little bit more stress on the shoulders. So keeping it nice, compact, and tight is going to be a little bit more the route I want to take, and it's also going to help me utilize my tricep strength as much as possible in that press and getting through my sticky points. All right, so tip number 3 is going to be increasing the other areas of the shoulder using bodybuilding movement or accessory movements. Now, typically I'm always saying if you want to get better at X, which say it's pressing, you just have to press more, which is true. However, I think if we can add in some exercises that are going to help strengthen the other areas of the shoulder, it's only going to benefit us when we're going for that big overhead press. So I'm going to be focusing on doing some more side and rear delt work throughout my week by maybe doing a second session later at night or just incorporating some of these exercises later on in my training. So some exercises that I'm definitely going to incorporate more when it comes to building the other aspects of the shoulder is going to be any sort of side raise. So whether that's a cable raise or a dumbbell raise, and then also doing things that are going to target the rear delt. So things like face pulls or just rear delt flies, because we want to build that shoulder in its entirety. When you look at strongman, they have these huge overdeveloped anterior delts, right? Which is awesome and needed for pressing. But at the same time, if we can increase all those other muscles, it's only going to transition to a better, bigger, and stronger press. So don't neglect those other areas of the shoulder. So the last thing that I'm going to be doing when it comes to increasing my overhead press is trying to increase the strength of my triceps. Okay, especially when it comes to locking out the press, your triceps play a crucial role in that. So we want to get those bad boys as strong as possible. So for me, I'm going to be doing things like dips, I'm going to be doing skull crushers, I'm going to be doing push downs and pin presses that are going to target the triceps a ton. So if you're someone who gets stuck kind of midway or towards the end of your press, that is a lot to do with your triceps. So make sure you're putting in a good amount of tricep work to really help you increase your lockout power and just overall pressing strength. So there you guys have it. That is my diabolical plan on how we are going to achieve a 300-pound strict press. I'm super excited. I definitely think it's manageable, and I'll be documenting my progress in the next couple months throughout my training videos. So if you guys dug this, make sure you guys try to implement some of these tactics into your training, especially if you're in the sport of strongman. You need to have a big overhead press, and the strict press is just the foundation of all the other presses. Side note, we do have a lot of programs on the website, so if you're someone who needs help with programming and you want me as your coach or someone else on my team, make sure you go check out zatstrength.net, where we have our program templates and tons of articles that will help you along your journey. Side note, we also have tons of new apparel on the website, so it really means a lot to us when you guys can support a small business, the gym and the brand, and just kind of this cool lifting culture and the message we're trying to spread. So it means a lot. So if you guys can, check out the store. If there's something you like, purchase it, tag us on Instagram. We share that stuff all the time because it's really cool to see you guys repping it. But that is pretty much all we have, guys. So stay a lean, mean strength machine, and catch you guys next time. Peace.